So I am absolutely delighted today to have a new guest on my podcast, the Live, Love, Learn podcast, Tom Paladino, who's a scalar light researcher. Now, before we find out a little bit more about Tom and his amazing work that he's doing that can benefit each and every one of us, you all know that I love us all. The whole point of my podcast, my YouTube channel, is about when we know what the challenges are facing us, we can seek out the natural alternatives, because there's always something, there's always a solution available to us. So sharing work of people like Tom is absolutely crucial, because we all know that a lot of the natural healing modalities have been censored, been hidden from view, and we're going to find out a little bit more about what is available to us right here, right now. So let me introduce Tom to you. Tom Paladino is a researcher and a humanitarian seeking to make a difference in the world by providing people with the education and tools to restore optimal health and by helping enhance their quality of life. Tom began research with Scalar Energy during his undergraduate years after developing a deep admiration for the father of Scalar Energy, Nikolatesla. Tom's also studied numerous other works of other people who are fascinated by scalar energy, in particular a man named, and I'm probably going to butcher this, Hieronymus, who optimized research on scalar energy. And the existence of this energy is not found within the electromagnetic spectrum. And this has fascinated Tom, who's pursued a course of independent study seeking to understand and harness scalar energy through the development of an instrument called scalar light, which we're going to find out all about today. So, Tom, this is incredibly exciting for all of us, and we're really grateful for you sharing your years and years of work. How are you doing today?
I am well. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you, Kathy.
Now, a lot of my listeners will have heard of scalar, but it's one of those terms where certainly, you know, I've got a lot of holistic practitioners that work with all sorts of wonderful machines, but it's not something even I really understand what it is. So what is scalar energy and where does it originate from?
You know, I always say people are experts with scalar energy. It's sunlight, it's starlight. It's the initial energy of the stars. Some people call that chi, prana, zero-point energy, life force energy. All of those are synonymous terms. So we're not working with electricity. We're working with scalar energy instruments. We can control a different energy dimension. With that in mind, this energy dimension offers so many possibilities. It opens up a new branch of physics.
I love it. And you will notice a little bit of difference in sound quality because Tom is actually in his lab, which is going to be crucial to our discussion today. So bear with it because it's really worth seeing this all in action. Tom, one of the things we've heard about with scalar energy, I know that you sort of linked it to prana, zero-point energy, chi. Can you explain a little bit about that? Because those are terms that a lot of us have heard about.
Right. Well, for millennia, we've understood that there's a life force energy, some type of energy that pervades the universe. We're right. We're spot on. It's not electricity. There's something much better than electricity. Sadly, we're working with the electromagnetic spectrum where we should be working with a scalar energy spectrum. So my point is this: why don't we opt for that other energy spectrum? That's the spectrum of energy that Nikola Tesla called radiant energy. That's the free energy, the clean energy of the sun and the stars. So what we have to present is not only a new branch of physics, but it's a new way of living.
It's so exciting. And, you know, one of the things, Tom, over the last 3 years, the beauty of it, I think, is so many more people are questioning now. We're questioning things that actually with our lifestyles that we've all been sort of forced into. I like the light energy coming into me now through my blinds. You know, people are questioning, they're questioning things that we haven't been allowed to question before about where our energy comes from, about how our bodies work, about how nature works. And things like, you know, we've got ridiculous things now with people looking to block out the sun. So where does, in terms of the difference between scalar energy and electromagnetic energy, which we're more familiar to hearing about, can you try and make that understandable for us?
Sure. The initial energy of the universe is scalar energy from the sun and the stars. And then the derivative, the byproduct of that is electricity. So why don't we work with the primal energy, scalar energy, which is zero-point energy? Why do we work with the inferior energy, the secondary energy, so to speak, electricity. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. I'm going to demonstrate that these energy instruments behind me offer the world free energy. Let me explain. These instruments are operated. It has so much energy coming from that Tesla coil. I can demonstrate how I can illuminate a light bulb that I hold in my hand. Okay. Now, what's the point here? That's the free energy of the star. So this instrument acts like a star. It illuminates. It can illuminate a light bulb. Well, this is the clean energy. Mind you, I don't have an expensive infrastructure. There is no chemical reaction. This is simple. This is straightforward. I don't need satellites. Why don't we avail ourselves of the free energy of the sun and the stars? That's what we really want to concentrate on moving forward.
I absolutely love it, because I am a really strong believer. I mean, my main passion is working with animals and they're humans in that order. Because I really do believe nature has all the answers. And when we try, so many of us now are looking to live more in balance with nature and to live in harmony with it and have that circular exchange of energy rather than taking and not giving back, which we're going to see how this does that. It's beautiful. It's not taking anything away from nature. But this isn't new, is it? I mean, this technology, we mentioned, all of my listeners will have heard of Nikola Tesla, possibly not some of the other scientists. But who are the physicists and researchers of the past that have been looking at scalar energy? How did they use it? And how is this work not more widely available?
Nikola Tesla was the first man to harness scalar energy. He had a standing tower in Long Island, New York, which he demonstrated free energy. Well, why was that suppressed? Free energy will change the economic order. That's why it's been suppressed. There's been other inventors, Hieronymus, a man by the name of Thomas More, a Russian, his name is Kozyrev. But there have been very few and far in between, because this has not been promoted. Academia does not embrace this. So you really have to be a pioneer and perform groundbreaking research on your own. That's what I've done throughout my life.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So some of the things that I've been looking into, because I've been looking into this for quite a while, one of the things we talk about is how scalar energy can transmute matter.
Yes.
How does that work? And is it a form of alchemy?
Yeah, it is a form of alchemy. I'm going to explain. I'm going to hold up a photograph of the Epstein-Barr virus. I would actually take this photograph and place it inside the instrument. And then the instrument would look at the molecular structure of Epstein-Barr and break it down. That's alchemy. You could actually take the molecular structure of a microbe and break it down into smaller proteins and elements. So we're working at that fundamental level, which we can rearrange matter. I can rearrange a virus. And you're absolutely right. That's alchemy. And that's where we're going with this type of energy. It's not a chemical reaction. We avoid all that. We simply rearrange the structure of physical matter. It's quite fascinating.
It's really fascinating. And really, that's what our bodies are doing all the time, because we all know that when we take in food, we don't, say take in a bit of protein and it doesn't travel intact through our system. It's all been broken down and then reassembled in different ways. But before I get onto that, because the nutritional side of things is absolutely fascinating, Tom, there's a lot of controversy over viruses. Do they exist? I'm just going to have to move out the way of that sun a bit. Do they exist? What has and hasn't been isolated? The difference between terrain theory, germ theory, and all the options in between. How does all that sort of difference in opinions, difference in people's belief systems play into how your machine works?
Yeah, thank you. So when I'm working with this instrument, I only work with photographs. For instance, if I wanted to eradicate this Epstein-Barr virus, I would do so by matching it up, by having it communicate with my photograph. Now, let me explain. This is, again, alchemy at the energetic level. I don't work with chemicals. I only work with photographs. I would actually place my photograph side by side the photograph of Epstein-Barr. Now, if this instrument, if this energy deems that Epstein-Barr is harmful, it will break it down into smaller proteins and elements. However, if this instrument deems that something is beneficial, such as probiotic bacteria, then nothing will happen. I want to make this very clear. It's not my thought process. I do not program this instrument besides introducing a photograph of a microbe. The instrument, the energy adjudicates as what is harmful and what needs to be, if you will, transmuted. So this is the new science in which we take human reasoning out of the equation. There is no human reasoning. I simply introduce photographs of microbes, and then I give the energy the opportunity to ascertain if that's harmful, and if so, it will transmute what is harmful.
I so love that you said taking humans out, because one of my big concerns is always that this human, once our, sort of thinking brain gets involved, we think that we know better than nature.
Right.
So just to make sure that I'm getting this right, Tom, is it really that the scalar light healing machine process is always looking to return us to homeostasis?
Yes.
And that if it picks up anything within us, regardless of how we label it, that is taking us out of homeostasis, it will deal with that?
Absolutely. Why? Because energy is fundamental. Now, once again, I work with an energy instrument. There's no human reasoning here. So I depend upon light. Light is fundamental. And I always say, light never makes a mistake. For instance, homeostasis, how is that achieved? If I, again, take my photograph, I only work with photographs, and I place it in the instrument. This is an example of a chakra balancing. A chakra balancing is so powerful, it can illuminate a light bulb. Well, that's the type of light, the type of energy going into a person. That is homeostasis. I do not adjudicate. I do not make that decision. The light performs the chakra balancing. So this is a new technique in which we're not working on the biological plane. We're working on the energetic plane through, if you will, a bilocated version, the photograph. What is a photograph? Well, in quantum theory, it's quantum entanglement. Yeah. In quantum theory, I am represented, my soul, mind, and body is on that photograph. And if this instrument can illuminate a light bulb, it can, then it should be able to illuminate my brain waves and my 7 chakras. Now, bear in mind, none of that, what I just demonstrated, none of that has any play of my human reasoning or some type of manipulation on my part. No, it's the energy instrument that performs the healing.
That's what I like most about it. Absolutely fascinating. So just before we move on from that, I've heard a couple of people ask, so if you're putting, say, because I know you've got a huge library of possible things that could lower our vibration, for want of a better word, take us out of homeostasis. Right. But there's no danger through putting those two things together that you could actually be introducing something, because is it right, Tom, that every organism, so if you take us as a human and then a bacteria and then a plant, every different type of organism has got a set energy frequency which is optimal for it?
That's correct. That's correct. So when I'm working, once again, with a photograph, again, a photograph is simply a representation of light of a microbe. I let the energy decide if that's harmful or not.
Yeah.
Secondly, if it is harmful, then I let the energy transmute that out of the chemical level, transmute it to break it down into smaller proteins. Now, keep in mind, if it does transmute into smaller proteins, proteins are beneficial to us.
Yeah.
So if this indeed is pathogenic or parasitic, why not transmute that by way of alchemy? That's a proper term. It's not a chemical reaction. By way of alchemy, reduce that to something that's beneficial that would be used as nutrition, such as proteins.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So before we get on to some more nitty gritty of that, I've got some more questions about the actual process, if that's all right.
Sure.
So one of the things that your machine can do is can help introduce nutrients or turn on our own body's ability to form our new nutrients. And this is critical because at the moment, not only is most of our food supply lacking essential minerals and vitamins and nutrients, but also it's got a lot of toxic ingredients often in it. And a lot of people haven't actually got access to clean food and clean water. Talk us through how it can help with that, Tom.
Okay. Now, once again, we're going to go back to a photograph. And remember, there's no human reasoning on my part. The photograph does all the work. Here's a photograph of vitamin B4. Again, I only use photographs. Why? I take human reasoning out of the equation. So if I match up, if I have these two photographs communicate, everything I do is by way of communication. I have my photograph communicate with B4, vitamin B4. The energy by way of alchemy is downloaded into my quantum field. Again, it's not a biological process, it's transmutation. This is a new branch of physics in which we can download the energy of a vitamin, and then we can actually create that vitamin in our aura or in our psychic field or in our non-physical dimension. So my work remains non-physical, working with photographs of a vitamin. I can download the energy of that vitamin, avoid the chemical consequences, avoid the chemical detox, and achieve my objective, which is nutrition at the quantum level.
Love it. So let's take a practical example. Say I've got a couple of dogs. In fact, I've got loads of animals. Obviously, I'm trying to give them as balanced a diet, but I can only do it to the basis of my level of knowledge and what's available. So say if I sent you a picture of my dogs,
Yes.
and I didn't know what their nutritional deficiencies were,
Correct.
how would your machine work with that?
Yeah. And to forward that, I do not know their nutritional deficiencies either.
No.
So this energy will achieve homeostasis on its own. See, this is the unifying field. This is the all-encompassing intelligence of this divine energy. I have dogs. I treat my dogs with these nutrients. There's no way I'm going to take a blood panel for my dog every week. My dogs are healthy. My dogs do not have disease. Their skin is lustrous. Their skin is vibrant. My point is this: whether it's a person or an animal, I let the energy decide how much of a nutrient you need. To further that, I've never seen what I would consider an overdose. Why? This is homeostasis. First of all, you can't have an overdose with something that's non-physical. This is non-physical. Secondly, if energy is all-knowing, if it's intelligence, it is, then I let the energy in its all-knowing capacity decide what is the proper proportion of a nutrient that needs to be administered. I've achieved that with infants. I've achieved that with people in their 20s. I've achieved that with octogenarians. I've achieved that with dogs, with reptiles, with mammals, with birds. So this seems to be a universal truism. The energy decides what type of nutrition you need. This is fascinating because we've removed human thinking, human reasoning. There is no human programming, period.
Do you know, you are so on my wavelength, because I work with something called zoopharmacognosia, which animals self-medicating. And the whole reason it works so well is because we take the human decision-making out of it. The human just learns how to read the signals correctly, what a yes or no, but we don't enforce, because as we all know, there's hundreds of different liver herbs, there's hundreds of different herbs, thyroid herbs, and what each of us need will be completely different dependent on so many factors. So I completely get how this works and how important it is, and also what a huge relief to anyone who's receiving the healing, because they just need to be open to it and be open to receiving. And isn't that one of the most beautiful messages that has been repeated since time began in terms of spiritual enlightenment, really?
Yeah. It really is. This is the no-brainer, so to speak. This avoids any chemical detox. This avoids any negative consequence. If this were harmful, I'd never do it. I'd never practice this in the physical sense. It's not. Keep in mind, the sun and the stars are helpful. They're beneficial. Nobody ever had an allergic reaction to the stars.
Yeah.
Consider that statement. Has any medical condition ever been attributed to the stars? No. It's perfect energy. It's homeostasis. That's why the stars cannot harm in any way.
Love it. So in terms of the photographs, we work with photographs, which means that you can work with anyone, any being all over the world with permission. I love the fact that you always ask for permission. So explain to me how the scalar energy, I know we've touched on it a bit, but taps into that photograph. Does it have to be a current photograph, or can it be any photograph?
It can be any photograph. When I started in the 90s with this type of research, you were working with Polaroids. This is before just at the advent of the computer. Well, we don't use Polaroids anymore. So people would email me a photograph. Now, what's the key? Looking at this from the strict point of energy, my soul, mind, and body is captured on that film, on that photograph, energetically. You've heard of many civilizations that are really leery about having their photograph taken.
Yeah.
Well, there's prudence to that. My essence, my soul, mind, and body is on that photograph. They're absolutely right. In the quantum realm, I can't say that about the electromagnetic spectrum. For me to achieve my results, I need a quantum instrument, not an electrical instrument. If I place my photograph in a toaster or in an oven, it's not going to achieve that desired effect. Only a quantum instrument can access the quantum dimension. So this is, again, the new branch of physics in which we're in a different dimension. That's the key. Yeah. There's two dimensions. Some people call it 5D, some people call it consciousness. It's a different reality. It's a different dimension. And the way I access that dimension is through my instrument. The way anybody can access that dimension is through their thinking, their prayer, their thought, their conscious or subconscious mind.
This is so powerful, Tom, because there's so many thoughts. I've got so many questions for you. I'm sure I'm going to have to get you back. But I think anyone who's experienced sort of working on themselves, who's experienced practices of meditation, of really lifting themselves into a different level of consciousness. There's so many examples now with the work of people like Joe Dispenza that show that this miraculous healing can absolutely take place because you're not working on the physical realm as such. So I would imagine that if people start working with your light machine, that actually this isn't just a one-off healing. It's almost getting their body in a vibration where they can take more control over all aspects of their life themselves. Because when it's lifting your vibration up and getting you back into balance, then all our innate powers, which they so-called junk DNA that we all know isn't junk DNA, is going to be in a state ready where people can really start using their powers to the best of their abilities.
Yes, thank you so much. I've always said everybody's a genius. Everybody has a mind, which is scalar thought. Everybody has a heart, which is scalar emotion. So if you look at us as scalar beings, our mind is producing a thought pattern or creativity. Well, where does that creativity come from? It's the intelligence of the universe. It's the consciousness of the universe. Why do we have a heartbeat? What sends the instructions for our heart to beat? It has to be universal intelligence.
Yeah.
That's why we all have a heartbeat. Nobody's ever been able to explain that. Yeah, sure, I understand there's a certain rhythm, circadian rhythm, but what gives us the circadian rhythm? It has to be consciousness. It has to be that all-pervasive divine consciousness.
Yeah, and so many of us are looking at where we're questioning how we can be of most benefit. What is our purpose in this time? Because it's all very well knowing about all the things that are wrong in the world, but what can we as individuals do about it? And it can be overwhelming. And we always talk, a lot of us, it comes back to the same teachings, whichever area you come from, that the most important thing we can do is work on ourselves, because when we're in balance, when we're in resonance, then through the quantum entanglement, whatever people want to call it, the divine matrix, we are influencing every single person, being, thing we come into contact with. So I would imagine, I'm going to come on to how many people you've been working with and animals and everything, but every single person who's working with this sort of technology is not only going to be benefiting themselves, but also benefiting everyone else that they interact with.
Exactly. Some people submit their photograph to us and they say after a month or two, they're no longer depressed, or that their skin infection clears up, or that they have a better outlook on life. Some people say it's enhanced their thinking, their memory. Now, all of that is fine, but I can guarantee you it wasn't me.
Yeah.
I work with thousands of people every day. I am not the healer. This is the healing principle.
Yeah, fantastic. So what do you see in terms of the future of how this is going to be used and to change the world for the better? Because we need some good use at the moment. I do want to cover into that. It's like we've had a lot of talk. I have to be very careful because I'm going to be putting this on lots of different platforms, but we've heard a lot about directed energy weapons being used for nefarious activities, and this is energy being used for the good. So how do you see this moving forward, and how do you stop it getting into the wrong hands?
That's an excellent question. Number one, I work alone. This is my invention. This is my technique. I don't align myself with corrupt government, corrupt businesses. Number two, it's all about working with people as a grassroots movement. Thank you for allowing me to speak to your audience. When we keep this simple and clean and work at a grassroots movement, it will work. It is working. That's the key to my research. Next, are some government agencies or businesses trying to operate instruments for harm or as weapons of war? Probably. I don't get involved in that. I have nothing to do with that. I'm a humanitarian. I'm a Christian. I don't want to have anything to do with those nefarious circles.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important for people to understand that, you know, it's not the inherent tool itself, it's who's using it. And the fact of the matter is that obviously anyone that's volunteering to have healing using this machine is going to be doing it for the good. So, you know, it's a win-win situation. So tell us about some of the unique experiences that you've had. I know that we're not allowed to use certain terminology about healing, but, you know, what have you witnessed from people that have been working with this technology or animals?
Yeah, that's a good point. To be clear, I'm not a medical professional. I'm a scalar professional. Now, I'm going to allow the audience to draw the conclusion. We have testimonies on our website. Let the people draw their conclusion because this has never been done before. That's a clinic, a photograph of a clinic in Delhi, India. It's called Om Prakash Clinic of people living with HIV/AIDS. We've worked with over 5,000 people at this clinic in Delhi, India. After we work with these people, everybody says that they feel better. Many people have a follow-up PCR test, and the PCR test shows no viral load whatsoever for HIV. So I'll let our grassroots movement decide what that means to them. Keep in mind, this has never been conducted before. Nobody's ever duplicated my results, and nobody can prove or disprove what I'm doing. This is cutting edge. And unless somebody duplicates my results, they cannot prove or disprove what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And I know there's a lot of people that are very skeptical about what the PCR test has been used for. But the proof of the pudding, I've looked at a lot of the testimonials about every possible thing you could imagine. And the proof of the pudding is how people are actually feeling, their vitality level, and things like, you know, skin conditions completely disappearing, you know, visual things. And when you're, one of the beauties I love about when you're working with animals is there's no placebo. Not that I think there's anything wrong with the placebo effect. I think it's absolutely wonderful. It proves that we can heal ourselves through thoughts alone. But actually animals give us that really amazing feedback. Have you had some stories that you can share, a particular story that you've loved about an animal experiencing your technology?
Yeah, a few years back, there was a group in Asia that was taking care of elephants, and some of the elephants had a viral infection. So we received photographs of elephants that had a viral infection. And after we worked with those elephants, they no longer had a viral infection. The elephants returned to robust health. Now, I've never met those elephants. I've never laid a finger on them, but I'll let the audience come to the conclusion. Why is it that we can work with people around the world and people tell us after working by way of their photograph, they feel better? That's the proof in the pudding.
What about, Tom, if you've got a situation, and I'll be careful how I say this. So a lot of people have had certain interventions that haven't necessarily done them any good, and they might be having side effects. So if someone feels that they've got, say, vaccine damage or something like that, if you haven't got a picture of the actual substance, because quite often we don't know what are in these things, can you still work with that person to help return them to homeostasis?
Yes, yes. And the key is, once again, this energy will discern. The energy is the operating mechanism. So whether a person has had a vaccination or not, we still work on that quantum level If I can provide homeostasis to a light bulb, then I should be able to do that with any person, any animal, any plant. So once again, energy is king. Energy never makes a mistake. So regardless of the condition of a person, an animal, or a plant, we go back to the primal source. Nothing impedes the primal energy.
Yeah, absolutely. So how does scalar energy, it's everywhere in the universe and transcends time and space. So how can people put that into something that we would understand?
If you can think, and we'd all do, instantaneously, you can think of a distant object or a galaxy far away, and you can achieve that thought instantaneously, well, that's scalar thought. We are scalar beings. Our thought process is scalarized. Scalar is the underlying principle of all thought creativity. So if that's the case with our thinking, then if we can think instantaneously, well, the universe can be recognized instantaneously. If our thoughts transcend time and space, they do, well, then we tap into that scalar universe. So the very fact that we can think and think instantaneously and think about a distant object galaxies away proves that we are thinking in the quantum realm.
Yeah, and there's so many quotes, aren't there, about, if a man can think, if they can, or imagine it, he can achieve it, that we don't imagine things that we are not possible to achieve. It's just breaking through that mental barrier of what we've been told isn't possible. It's amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. When I started my research, I knew I could copy Tesla's work. I'm not the originator. Tesla was the first man to invent a scalar energy instrument. But I, in many ways, back engineered his work. And here we are today. I have a miniature star in my laboratory. It's very real. And the key is I just kept moving forward. I knew I could do it. I had positive thinking. I had God on my side. And here we are. We achieved that reality.
And this all links, you mentioned earlier, Tom, about how this all links into the energy situation. And, at the moment, one of the biggest divisiveness that's used by so many different, politicians, government agencies, NGOs, you name it, the climate crisis, it all comes down to energy, the control of energy. So how can this be helped to solve that problem?
Yeah, Tesla was experimenting with his instruments. He could illuminate light bulbs that he planted in the ground. And he proved that at a distance. I can prove that close up. So what's the point? I should be able to take this energy and send it anywhere around the world eventually and illuminate a light bulb. If I can achieve that, then I will be able to solve the energy crisis.
Yeah. And we do know this technology, as you said, is out there. And we do understand, I think certainly everyone watching this understands why that people don't want us to have access to this, because obviously if you can control people's food, energy, etc., you've got ultimate control over them and the financial system. So I think this is, for me, Tom, this is why I'm so passionate for people to try things like this, because if we put our attention into what we do want and these healing technologies, it's got so many ongoing ramifications, because the more people that experience this for themselves and can see and feel what happens to themselves or their loved ones with consent, the more the knowledge of this is going to spread by wildfire, and it's not going to be, controllable. So one of the things I love is about how you work on these 7 major chakras and the 12 meridian points. Talk us through, because that's one of the programs that you can run.
Okay, so we've heard the term illumination. What's illumination? Or enlightenment? How did we come across those terms? I firmly believe the ancients realized that the mind was illuminated by this life force energy. So once again, if I can illuminate a light bulb, well, then that's the fundament that should serve to illuminate our mind and our 7 chakras. And that's what I propose. Our brain waves are scalar waves. Our 7 chakras are composed of scalar energy. That's why the chakras spin. Scalar energy is a rotating vortex, and our chakras likewise rotate according to that vortical action. So this goes hand in hand with our brain waves and our chakras. The way to influence brain waves and chakras is with a scalar instrument, not with electricity. So this is what I like about my work. Once again, I copy nature. I'm not going against nature. This is not a chemical process. This energy instrument will indeed enhance our thinking, will enhance our 7 chakras, will balance our 7 chakras. Not by my artifice, not by my handiwork, but by way of this all-encompassing energy.
Fantastic. There's so much you're saying. I'm taking it all in as I'm asking the questions. So I'm going to be going back and re-listening to this as well.
The key is this, Catherine. The key is this.
Yeah.
Energy is mistake proof.
Yes.
Okay? I don't disparage anybody in the health field. I think many of those men and women are stellar. They're wonderful. But keep in mind, there's no human reasoning. All of this is energy enlightenment. It's not me, so it cannot make a mistake. There's no human reasoning with my work. So the upshot, the result is always beneficial.
Yeah, completely, because it's taking the sort of ego and power side of things completely out of it, which is absolutely beautiful. So how is scalar energy the cause of gravity? I've heard you speak about that before, Tom.
Now, there's a great scientist, Viktor Grabenikov. He invented anti-gravity instruments. He could actually levitate on these instruments. And the way he did that, he simply negated gravity. So if you think of gravity, when it's inward pressing, it forms gravity. When you can relax that energy, you have anti-gravity, you have no gravity whatsoever. So Grabenikov demonstrated anti-gravity instruments. There's actually photographs of him. What's the point? The underlying cause of gravity is energy, scalar energy. So gravity is the effect of scalar energy.
You know, it's so fascinating because all the way through this conversation, Tom, there's so many things that come back to what anyone who's been searching enlightenment or spiritual advancement does, because we all know there's yogis that can actually levitate. We know that there's people that can punch through walls through the power and negate the so-called physical realm. We know that if we look at our hand under a microscope, it's not actually solid, it's vibration. So all of this really ties together. When we start really questioning it and thinking about it, you can see how there's a consistent theme in terms of mastering health, abundance, peace on earth that comes through all these different areas. And this is a key part of it.
I agree. You've heard of people with healing hands. What are healing hands? Those are scalar energy hands. Sometimes somebody can put a hand on you and you feel the energy, the heat. What type of heat is that? What type of energy? It's scalar energy. It's not electricity. Why is it that some people can lay hands and heal? It's scalar energy that emanates from their hands. It's not per se the person, it's the gift of scalar energy from their hands. Yeah,
completely. So what about in terms of using scalar energy for human enhancement and also, you know, like plants obviously rely on photosynthesis, and we've got real issues with that at the moment because of perhaps some of the weather modification that's going on and the interference that certain people seem to do. So in terms of how can this technology help the plant life, the humans in a bigger scale, really?
My predecessor, a man by the name of Galen Hieronymus, had a scalar energy instrument in his basement, and he grew plants in the dark in his basement through scalar energy. So he proved that scalar energy is the driving force, is the initial action of photosynthesis, and therefrom you have electromagnetic action. So if Galen Hieronymus, my predecessor, can grow plants in the dark with a scalar energy instrument, imagine plants under the influence of this instrument and how they will indeed respond. For instance, I live in Florida. The palm trees around my home, I treat them with scalar energy. I have the tallest palm trees in a 5-mile radius around my home because my palm trees are enjoying nutrition and scalar energy enhancement around the clock.
Does this link in at all? I don't know if you know, Tom, about, because there's a lot of research in the interest in electroculture as well.
Yeah. You know, I just want to make this distinction. There are many inventions out there. Some use scalar, some use electricity. You just have to look at each invention and each technique specifically. I'll speak for myself. These are instruments, so my process is unique.
So your lab looks pretty impressive behind you there, and I know that's just years and years of development that's gone into that. So let's talk about the nitty-gritty. If someone's watching this and they want to try this for themselves or a loved one of whatever species, what's the process for them doing that?
No, the key is days of free session. The reason I do that, this is new. I realize it's different.
Could you repeat that because you cut out?
I give away 15 days of free sessions. Anybody can at our website and give away 15 days of energy sessions. I do that because this is new and I want to introduce this to people to understand this. How could you? It's never been done before. So if you visit the web scalarlight.com, you can upload your photographs with their, include your pets, and we'll work with you for free. No questions asked. There's no obligation. 15 days of free session. After those 15 days, most people, the great majority of people say they feel better, that their energetic health has been enhanced. And we let people take it from there. So the point is, a grassroots movement, we want to prove it that this works.
Fantastic. Can you see the screen I've shared? I can never work
Yes, I can.
it's working. So I'm going to obviously put the link below for everyone. And there's a button here, which is the free 15-minute trial. Now, just so people are clear, Tom, do they need to submit separate pictures or themselves, or can it be themselves with their animal?
You can submit group photographs. That's fine. Just get permission in your family. So if you're a parent, you can take for your child. But I frequently receive collages, sometimes from missionaries or collages, corporations. So by all means, you can send a group photograph.
Yeah, your internet's cutting in and out a little bit, but we're catching most of it. This is fantastic. So the thing is, anyone that's watching this, there's a lot of talk about waiting for technologies like med beds, etc. But there's such amazing technologies here that we can all be experiencing right here, right now. And free 15-day trial is really, really generous for you to experience it yourself, for yourself or your loved ones with consent. We're allowed to give consent for our animals, but, ask them. But, anyone who's doing it for their animals is going to have their best interest. And animals are absolutely the perfect examples of only accepting energy that they want to accept as well. So that's great. And then once they've done the free 15-day trial, if they're sort of thinking, right, this is for me, you offer various different packages on your website for people, don't you?
That's correct. That's correct. We have other programs, endorphins and neurotransmitters, digestive enzymes, natural foods. So there's 8 or 9 different programs. The first thing you do, try our standard program, sign up for the 15 days of free sessions. I want you to feel comfortable. This is a process. This is an educational process. I don't believe in pushing. I believe in educating.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Now, I am going to be, as soon as this is finished, I will be signing up for myself, and I have some family members as well who are going to try it. So after my 15 days, I'm going to come back and tell all my listeners about my experience with myself and my animals and everything. Obviously, I do realize there's certain things that are not going to be fully addressed in 15 days, but just to really tune in and share those experiences. So I would really encourage anyone who's watching this, the link will be in the description box below for all Tom's details, how to access the website, go to the 15-day trial. The website's really, really easy to use. And we want to hear your experiences. We want to hear your testimonials and everything and see, because this is the way we change the world, is to actually experience these things ourselves and to work on ourselves to be sort of the more in balance we are, the less we're affected by fear vibrations, chemicals, negativity, and the more positive impact we're putting out on the world.
Thank you. I agree. It's simple. It's easy. It's the free energy, the clean energy of the stars. There is no downside. There's no negative consequence. Try the 15-day session.
Absolutely. Thanks. Lovely. We really want to hear from you people. So if anyone's tried it, please do put in the comments below. If you're going to try it, let us know. And then what we'll reconvene is in a few weeks' time. My contact details will be below as well, so people can email any feedback through to me and we'll cover it again next time. Tom, I think it's absolutely amazing, you know, that there's people like you that have literally dedicated your life to taking these sort of hidden technologies and making them available for all of us. It's absolutely fantastic what you're doing. I think it's beautiful that we're taking a lot of human intervention to a large extent out of the equation, because I think people have lost a lot of trust, and this should therefore be really perfect for those people. Are there any final words you want to leave the audience with?
I usually leave with this. Your mind and your heart are scalar vessels. Use your mind and your heart to the utmost capability. We all have that incredible divine action through our mind and our heart.
Absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to try it. I'm going to be giving my feedback to everyone. I have got a couple of animals that I will definitely be trying with it as well, because they give always such fantastic feedback. Thank you so much, Tom, not only for your time today and for so generously sharing this all with us. Thank you so much for your continued work, because I know how long you've been researching this, and I think we can all see just how passionate you are about what you're doing and the good you're doing for the world. So people like you really do restore my confidence in human nature.
And likewise.
And if it's all right with you, we will invite you back onto the channel to hear the feedback.
I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks everyone for listening. Let us know how you get on. Bye for now. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. And if you feel inspired, please do share with your friends and family. My goal is to inspire as many people as I can to live their best lives, to stay curious and to raise their consciousness and that of the collective. So to do this, I need to reach as many people as possible, and this needs your help. If you feel drawn, would you be willing to share your favourite episode with 5 different people? This helps us spread the word and also helps me encourage some exciting new guests to take part in this podcast. If you feel drawn to do that, I will be very, very grateful. All the links and discount codes where applicable for all the products that I support are on my 2 websites, catherineedwards.life and catherineedwardsacademy.com. All of the products are personally tried and tested by me, my family, and my clients. And finally, please do press the follow or subscribe button, depending which platform you're listening on. And above all, stay curious and stay free.